welcome to the Sharpe Way Show. I know you are accustomed to me going live in the evening, but you know I'm going crazy with late night stuff, so I've moved it more towards the day, and I appreciate you guys still paying attention to me. It's really important. If you care about this, you care about what we're doing, you don't want us to have a media blockade and blackout, you got to like, you got to comment, you got to share, you got to do it now. Stop looking at me. I know I'm handsome, I'm a good-looking man, but still go like, comment, and share right now so people see us doing this. Head it over to my Sharpe Way Facebook page. Like it. It's free, so go do it. No excuses. Also, subscribe to my YouTube page. It does matter. Do it right now. Again, why are you looking at me? Do this stuff right now. Head on over to my head on over to my Twitter. Do that also. We will be rocking and rolling. Please do that so people can see us, know that we're important, and of course, grow our own media. I have a very special guest today, someone who I'm so happy to have, a man who understands influence, a man who understands how to move both the crowd and the individual, a man who knows how to consult in businesses and train people, even in a classroom, a man who's assisted me personally. He didn't know he did. I'm going to tell him about that in a minute. Who assisted me personally about 20 years ago, the man himself, Kevin Hogan. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Hey, welcome from Minnesota, too. We had a beautiful day here. We're locked down, but that's the way the world is today.
Absolutely. And no one can talk about lockdown unless you live in Queens, New York, like I live. I am
Good point.
In the belly of the beast. Yes, I am. And for those of you who don't know, literally, I have de Blasio as my mayor. I have Cuomo as my governor. And I have AOC as my congressperson. So, yes.
I'm really sorry for you.
I accept your condolences, Kevin. Thank you so much. I accept your condolences. Absolutely. It is something that is driving me crazy. But look, I'm on the front line, right? Someone's got to be in the front line fighting this. People often talk about the idea of of Pennsylvania or Michigan or Florida being battleground states. They're not. The actual battleground states are New York and California, because that is where the government's doing its most, and then everyone else follows, right? Whatever they get away with there, it's coming to your state, Kevin. Coming to you.
Oh, we're absolutely
so lucky. Yes, absolutely. So, look, I want to let the people know something, an interesting story about one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on. This is about 20 years ago. I was actually selling Craftmatic beds in New York City. Sales job, trying to figure out how to make money, getting myself into the next level, door-to-door sales, one-on-one stuff, right? And I'm amazing at opening, right? People like me, I'm fun, awesome, but man, I could not close that deal. I struggled to close the deal. I just couldn't do it. Bad at it, right? So I go back to my VP. He's an amazing, crazy VP. He's a VP who gets on top of the table and yells at us and calls us names and all kind of horrible stuff, swears like there's no tomorrow. But I didn't care. I was a Marine. I had heard far worse. I've been called far worse, and I didn't mind the aggressive leadership, right? So they're yelling and screaming at me, telling me things, and most people can't hear him. They can't hear him, but I could. So I went to him afterwards, and I said, his name was Mo. I said, Mo, help me. I'm opening good. They love me. They're telling me how they love me. As they kick me out the door, they're telling me how they love me so much. I'm not getting a close. He gave me 2 books. He gave me Influence, Science, and Practice by Dr. Robert Cialdini. Great book. And Kevin, he gave me your book, The Psychology of Persuasion by Kevin Hogan. And I read Dr. Cialdini's book first, and it was great. Mm-hmm. However, yours was more practical. Yours really helped me understand how to close a deal, influence up front, and it made me understand something more important, that it wasn't about closing, that it was about the romance to get the close. And that's the part that I didn't get. And I was pretty good at the romance, but you made me better. So I want to say thank you. You helped me be a better salesman.
I think that's awesome. That's a great story. It's fun to hear it. Full disclosure, by the way, I'm also helping a Republican run for Senate down south this year. So just so you know, I have another lovers that's, so just so you know. Everything is good.
What you tell me is you're a playboy.
That's the deal.
Hey, we're libertarians. As long as it's
I get to do
consensual,
anything I want.
all good. As long as it's consensual, we're good, right? No judgment. As long as we're consensual, that's all that matters. That's all that matters. We're consensual. That's all that matters. All good. So yes. So I wanted to bring that up because something else happened too. At that was the time when 9/11 hit, and when 9/11 hit,
that's right, yeah.
yes, 9/11 hit. It shut the whole city down. I literally couldn't sell anymore. So I called up my boss and I said, "Where do you not have a rep?" He said, "How do you like Delaware?"
Oh my!
I said, "I'm in." I got in my car. I had a family to feed. I had a wife. I had a family to feed, right? So I got in my car and I moved to Delaware for a month. And I literally lived out of motels and I sold beds there. And your book was in my car.
That is seriously cool.
Absolutely.
I'm so excited to see you running for a position in our country that could actually make a difference, because not only does the position make a difference, but the journey up there makes a huge difference, because all the people that you sort of virtually touch along the way and hopefully eventually shake hands with very soon, it's a huge difference. And plus we have the local leadership, right? Local leadership is critical too. You talked about 100%. This, and we don't have, we lose free thinking, right? When we have just right, left, and sometimes I'm really way over something. It's funny, Larry, everybody who's a Democrat thinks I'm a Republican, and all my Republican friends think I'm a Democrat. Have you had this before?
All the time. Yes.
Right?
Yes. Or if I'm doing it right, though, if I'm doing it right, they all think I'm whatever they are. Right? When I'm doing it right, when I'm rocking and rolling, right, with my friends, and I'm not saying I'm libertarian, but just giving them answers for their problems, and they like it, they go, "Oh, you're obviously whatever they are."
Right? And this is influence, right? Whereas if I'm just commenting, writing an article, I'm not trying to go for the political point of view, of course. But this is why you're doing what you're doing. And I'm really glad. I'm so excited to see you doing this. It's very cool. Yeah.
Because you brought up the most important point in my view, right? Look, of course I hope there's a libertarian in the White House. Of course I hope that. I also realize the odds are really slim. I get that. I'm not fooling myself that the odds are slim. However, somebody does win the lottery. So you never know if we happen to be that one ticket that wins the lottery. It could happen.
It's actually not that bad. The odds aren't quite that dramatically poor. Remember, if you just think back just 3.5, 4 years ago when Trump was running, no one gave, a year before the election, no one gave him a chance to win, because he really isn't a Republican. He's really not.
Right.
He's sort of wherever he wants to be, which, by the way, is what a libertarian pretty much is. And I'm not saying I like the man or dislike the man. He doesn't pay me enough one way or the other. But I do know that when a person does when they say what they want, and when they think what they want, which is exactly how he got elected. I mean, hate or love the guy, you know what? He said what he wants. He just resonated with the American public in a very incredibly powerful way. Oh my goodness, look what he just said today. It's terrible, it's evil. Well, maybe it was, but it resonated with 51% of the people today.
Absolutely.
And this, by the way, is really important when the downline people that you're working with for governor, for Senate, for local Senate, local House of Representatives, they have to remember that it's okay to state your opinion about stuff, because people will latch onto it, and their opinion really matters. It's like once you say your opinion, somebody gets an opinion about you. You're either a genius or an idiot.
Yes, right. Yes, absolutely. But it's like, what's that one comedian says, on the road, everyone's either, a slowpoke or a maniac, right? If you're going slow to me, slowpoke. If you're going fast, maniac, no matter what.
Exactly.
That's all they are. Yes, everyone is that. Yes. But I'm with you completely. And I think the same thing could happen for Bernie. I'm not a Bernie fan, but I understand why people like Bernie. I do. I get it. He's been right there saying the same thing. And when you say things like, should we make, billionaires illegal? Yes, absolutely. Yes. Get out the guillotine. That's boom. And people go, oh, this guy's real. He means what he says. And in our world of politics, of people not believing it, it's an issue, right? Trust is everything.
If the Democratic National Committee wasn't as strong as they are, he probably would have been the candidate, and they actually would have had a chance against Trump, because you'd basically be running crazy person against crazy person, and Sanders would have a really good chance. Joe Biden he reminds me of like a second guy on a comedy team. He's not going to win. He'll come in second place no matter what. And
well, you know, I don't know. Like I'm in New York now, right? And as I've been out there talking to people, I think the slogan may be working. And the slogan that I'm hearing is blue no matter who. And I feel like that's actually working. What I mean by that is in today's world, you know this, it's people aren't trying to bring people together. They're trying to get their base out. And the key that I feel now is the Democrats' base, it's out. They are motivated. They are energized. They want to get out and vote. That is my concern. And I think Biden may just be a placeholder for the idea of what blue is. That is my concern. People may just be voting for whatever their hatred or their love of Trump may be the number one reason why they're voting, regardless of whether it's in their best interest or not.
You have an advantage because you represent people who think for themselves, which means you and I can disagree and nobody cares. Whereas, seriously, like if somebody tells me it's like, Kev, I really think you're wrong about this, I'm like, good, right, it's okay. Right. So right. And this is what makes a libertarian such a thinking person is that we're like, I can see that point of view. I could actually evolve and have a different position in 12 years. It's very possible. Right. Whereas if I'm running for Republican or Democrat, I can't have a different position than I had 12 years ago because I've now quoted him. You were said 12 years ago, you said this, and like 12 years ago, I was an idiot. What did today I figured it out. I actually went to school. I learned something. I paid off. Mom was right. I actually can learn. I knew it. I wasn't just, And so I like the fact that the libertarians' message doesn't have to be making America great again, and it doesn't have to be blue. What was that again, by the way?
Blue no matter who.
That's just stupid. So
that's just stupid. Very good.
So the answer here, guys, is for everybody here who's following Larry and all libertarians, the answer is not whatever Larry just said. Yes. Because it makes no sense. The answer is that you in your living room or nobody's at the office today.
Not anymore.
In your living room or your bedroom or wherever you're watching Larry. The answer is that you actually are the person who needs to be represented, the person who wants to have their own decisions, the person who wants to make their own choices. And you deserve to have a candidate that doesn't necessarily want to. Sure, I have a political statement. I have a political stand. I have issues that I stand for. I think that, I have friends, family that are gay. What do I care? It's their choice. Honest to God, I don't care. People's like, don't you have an opinion? I'm like, yes, I don't care. It's their right. Their world. Yes. This is how I was raised. It's like, it's none of my business, but here's the deal. What is my business is that as soon as you shut down one political point of view or one ideology, one religion, one church, one cult, oh my God, shut a cult down. Okay. As soon as you shut these things down, your church is the next to go.
Yes.
Okay. This is the deal. And so when you have the Republican or the Democrat guy say, oh, well, we got to do this. We have to have social distancing of 6 feet, not 7.2 feet or 4.9 feet.
No.
Okay. No, it's 6 feet. And that's the
everybody
safe number.
Knows that, Kevin. What's wrong with you? Only 6. 5 feet and 10 inches. You're dead. Do you understand that? Wow. Sometimes I don't understand you people.
Well, the terrible thing is I'm not smart enough to know how far my coughing goes. I mean, I just wasn't that bright. And so essentially, if a person has a brain above their blue shirt here, then they should be able to make choices that are wise for themselves. And that's why I want Sharpe and people like Larry Sharpe running for office and getting elected. And if you have the capability, and now if you don't have the capability, you probably should vote blue or red, by the way. If you're not able to think and make decisions on your own, please do vote for the nearest candidate, that also represents inability to think. But if you can think, if you do have capacity, then say blue and red is nice, but it was old fashioned. There was also like another color in the flag, and let's use that one temporarily and pick another color. You can fill it in with anything you want, yellow, green, white, who cares what it is. But it's thinking. It's all about the thinking process. This is why, and I have to say his name, Ron Paul. I was just when I finally learned about Ron Paul 20 years ago, I was so endeared, and I watched him work so hard for this country, probably harder than anybody in the world. Here's another thing: when you're running for candidate or for office, it's really hard to talk about the founders because we always think of old people. It's like talking about the gold standard. Oh, that's old fashioned. Oh, it's just intelligent and smart. But whatever, it's old. So we have to talk about the new. So the new guy in town is Larry Sharpe.
Well, like that,
right?
Yes, he is.
And that's what we want to see. That's what we want to see happen. So yeah, I'm so excited to see you running. This is awesome.
I love what you're talking about, because what you're talking about is the idea of influence, right? The whole part of libertarian philosophy is I don't want to force my views on you, but it doesn't mean I don't have views. I can have views. I would just like to not hit you over the head with my views. Correct. I would like not to put you in jail if you don't agree with my views. It means that I would like to talk to you and get you to believe my views through persuasion, right? I mean, in 2009, let me give you another plug. I'm plugging you today. I'm being a fanboy, Kevin. See that? You're being a fanboy to me. I'm giving you a fanboy back. It's all good. It's a love fest. So in any case, so in 2009, my business was devastated. I had to fire my employees. I mean, as I joke all the time, I thought I was the smartest guy in the room because I had two different industries which would never collapse together: investment banking and commercial real estate. They'll never collapse together. Ouch. Exactly the worst that I could have possibly had. My income dropped by 90% almost overnight. And I was an entrepreneur, and you know this. I was optimistic. What's this going to be like, 3 months and I'll be fine, right? Come on. Who cares about debt? I'll pay it back. I mean, that's exactly what I was thinking. And boy, was I wrong. So when I fired my employees, I had to reboot my entire company. And when I realized that people didn't believe they could sell better, most of my training was sales training. The majority of it was that. Some was marketing, but most of it was sales training. People didn't believe they could sell better. I didn't have the gravitas or the brand value. People would believe that I could be that guy. So instead, I changed the way I spoke. And I said, I know what you want, though. You're firing people, right? They went, yeah. Don't you want to do more with less? Oh, my God, we do. Well, guess what? I have a high-impact leadership course. Then I reopened up books, and I made a high-impact leadership course. And that's how I rebuilt my entire practice. And now almost all of my training is leadership. But as you know, post-industrial leadership isn't management. Post-industrial leadership is all about communication, right? I don't need your arms and legs as much as I used to. A machine does that, or I buy it overseas. What I need from you is your intellect. I need your imagination. I need your ability to change as fast as everything else change. I need all of those things. And you're not going to give that to me unless I can influence you and you can go, you know what? I want to be here. I want to volunteer. This is volunteerism. This is how the libertarian message actually goes directly into business. And I try to get people to understand that this is a human message that covers politics, business, family, all those things. I raise my kids this way, right? My people say, your daughter isn't very rebellious. And I go, oh, she is. And they go, well, what do you mean? She doesn't rebel against you. Because I give her nothing to rebel against. If I don't order her around, she can't rebel, can she? So it
reduces the chances. And by the way, I did the same thing.
Absolutely. And
I'd rather have them get in trouble at my house than somewhere else.
Absolutely. I always tell my daughter something very important. I say, if you get in trouble, you call me first, not your mother first, right? Because two reasons. One, your mom will get mad first, right? And then deal with your problem. I'll deal with the problem first, right? I'm the only person on this planet who will help you bury the body. Nobody else will. So you got to call me first and take care of that. So anyway, yes, I just wanted to bring it up. It really is an all-encompassing concept.
The people who watch this, it's really cool because I have many friends who would classify themselves as libertarians, but even libertarians have a hard time as classifying themselves as something. So I'd like to give everybody just a frame to think about this within, because it's like you look at a Democrat and you're like, God, I don't want to be a Democrat, Republican. I don't want to be. We would even deny. I was trying to think the other day. It was interesting. If I'd ever voted for a Republican or a Democrat, and I haven't, I voted for 4 elections. 2 times it was Ross Perot. 2 times it was for Ron Paul. That's it in my whole life. And people, I swear to goodness, I've had people come up to me, Larry, who say, so Kev, so basically by voting for Trump or by voting for no one, you voted for Donald Trump, is what you're saying, right? I'm like, wait a minute, hold it.
Yes.
Who said this?
Yes.
I did not say that. Basically, what I did is I said, our candidates suck, and I'm not going to vote for any of them because nobody actually cares really about my freedom. That's really, it's like there's this thing, the Constitution, I really like this document. It's pretty cool. It's like it's very, very well done. Best in the world. No kidding. It's like, now, are we the best in the world anymore? Only because everybody else is equally as horrible. Sure, maybe, but
Okay.
we can be way, way better. We can return to logic and rationale and what we stand for. I always tell people, you have a choice in the world. You can live where you want to live. You can live where you want to live. I spend a lot of my time, about 50% of the year, I live in Europe, and 50% of the time I'm here. And I spend a lot of my time, almost all of it, Eastern Europe. And I'm telling you, until you have experienced what socialism and those kind of things do, you probably would prefer that direction is not the direction to go. There are libertarians that like the social direction. I'd love to have a conversation with you guys and debate that one out. By the way, it's okay to have that belief structure too. That's the whole point. It's like, and if I were running for president, and I'm not even thinking about it, but if I was, I would seriously want to give power back to not the states. Screw that. I want the power back in your house, like in your house, in the individual's house. Like, I'm the dad, that's the mom, those are our kids, and we're all smart enough to figure it out. We know we don't beat up the neighbors. Nobody. When was the last time you saw a libertarian beating up the neighbor kids? Never. Why? Because he told them to mind your business, and you do. You take care of your stuff. You don't hurt anybody else's stuff. And it's like, this is actually sort of an ideal way to live. It's like, folks,
I got you going. I love it. Oh, no, I got you going. Throw it at me. Go ahead.
Republican neighborhood, very, very strong religious values here, which I love to watch and observe and experience that, because I know that if they do anything, because I was once very, very religious, and it's like, if you have very strong religious values and you do stuff wrong, you have to answer that to a higher power. So I love living where I live. But all things being equal, yes, that's exactly right. James Justice writes, libertarianism and humanism go hand in hand. That's the deal right there. The desire to have freedom for myself, choice for myself, and also for the other person out there. And I think this is where we win. This is where, if this is the message, that you're smart enough to make your own frickin' choices, I think that message works, because all we have to do is look at the pandemic, whatever you want to call it. It almost doesn't matter anymore, because everybody is now an epidemiologist, right? Yes. Everybody is an expert. True?
Yes.
True?
As I told you, 5 feet, 10 inches, dead. That's what I told you already. Yes, dead. Correct.
So we're all experts now on this. I think this is the common enemy to me. The common enemy, but by the way, guys, the common enemy is an influence term that we use in influence. If you want to win at whatever it is you want to win, you have to have a common enemy. So the common enemy can't be Republican, because about 35% of the people here that's watching this voted Republican. Yep. The common enemy can't be the Democrat, whether you want them to or not, because we need all these people back together, because the real right? We need everybody back together, because the common enemy is actually poor thinking, right? It's like, and giving you the thought and the choices back yourself and making it all okay. Common enemy is not necessarily Republican or Democrat, but it's the way that they think and the way that they sort of run the world down, and
well, look, it's funny you said a lot of that stuff. Yeah, Myron says you're exactly correct. So yes, the thing I want to bring up here, though, is there's one part of this that libertarians struggle with, and it's the idea that there are a lot of people who really don't want to be free, who would rather be told what to do. And the reason why they'd rather do it, and I look at this from my leadership, which is people want the boss to tell them what to do, because if they do, they're not responsible. As long as someone above them is giving them orders, they're not responsible. It's not my fault if I don't do well. The government stopped me or helped me. It's not my fault if my kids don't know anything. The government school failed me, right? There's always it's much easier, just as human nature, to say, well, Kevin's book was bad. That's why I'm a bad salesman, right? Not because I didn't work well, right? So yes, so you can do whatever you want, right? The issue is as long as I'm doing as I'm told, and you hear this all the time in 2 specific ways. I think when I go into business and consult in the business, I listen for this. When someone makes a mistake, what does someone say? Do they say, why did you do it? Or do they say, who told you to do it? 2 separate phrases in a business environment. Oh my God, does that change that environment right there? If someone says, who told you to do it, that environment is not a responsibility. It's about blame. If someone says, why did you do it? That's about responsibility. And you can see that in business, but you also see in the world when, as soon as something goes wrong, they're not looking to actually fix anything. They're looking for someone to blame.
this is great because we're in a really interesting period, and you and I talked briefly about how it's actually possible that Republicans and Democrats don't win an election because you're now in a period here where we all were put into the same petri dish at the same time.
Yes.
This is the first time in history this has ever happened, right? We're all stuck in the same situation, and none of us like the way it was handled by somebody. None of us like the way it was handled by somebody. So again, vote gold. I love it. So I want just think about it for a second. That we have two jobs. First of all, to have what we would like to have, which is people living like within their own wisdom, within their own logic, and being able to do what they want. But also, we want to give that freedom to other people to show them that we respect and appreciate their point of view and understand it and want to learn more about it. And who knows, maybe we'll change someday too to what you think. I'm not here to convince you of that. I'm here to convince you of the person who will give you that world. Okay?
Right.
Okay, right. So as you're talking to friends and neighbors out there, we don't want to sit there and go, oh yeah, well, the enemy is really being told what to do. Pandemic, right? Just think all the pandemic. The question is what didn't you like about what did you not like about the way the pandemic was handled? Okay. Now I don't think this is going to be over anytime soon. This little thing is going to continue on because right? This is not a quick fix situation, which is why your message has a good chance right now. Because what's been happening is that people are now going, I don't like the way my governor handled it. I don't like the way the president handled it. I don't like the way Congress handled it. I don't like the fact that I applied for a PPP or I got to learn all these letters again. EIDL or whatever it was. And it was like they said it was going to be $10,000, but it was really $3,000 or $4,000. They said that it was a grant, but really it's actually a loan, which, by the way, you're going to also pay taxes on, and all this stuff. So the question now comes to: do you really trust the Democrats and the Republicans? That would be those people over there to make the right decision for you in the future, considering current experience. These are the same humans. Do you want these same humans making your decision for the next 4 years? This is really simple, guys. No rocket science required here. They told you this, and you got this. If that's okay with you, vote for them.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. You actually, it's rare that you'll ever hear me say, don't do that. I'll often say, if you want this terrible thing, then do that. If you want this good thing, oh, look right here. See, this is the good thing. But maybe you want the terrible thing. I'm okay with that. And the funny part is, sometimes people do want the terrible thing. And what I'm trying to get more libertarians to understand is, don't be angry at them. That's it. Just don't be angry. Just go, okay, you go over there and do your terrible thing. I'm going to go over here and do my cool thing. And by the way, you're welcome to come over whenever you want.
I think the only time that you get to get upset, you have to pick. I always tell people, you have to be divisive on one or two issues, but you can't be divisive on too many. So don't go ticking off your neighbors and friends about 20 different things. I always tell, if somebody wants to succeed, torque them off on one specific issue, whatever that is. Pick an issue and have fun with it, okay? But don't torque them off on everything, okay?
Right.
See, Libertarian, all of a sudden, wow, this is great. Tim O'Connor's coming here. I love this. That's nice. That's just really cool. So where was I? That's what I get. Thanks, Tim. That's your fault.
That's Tim's fault. Blame Tim. That's it, yes. No, but you were talking about, you can't make everybody angry on more than a couple of things, right? That's it. Yeah. I was listening, Kevin. I was listening. See? Thank
God, because I don't pay attention. But the thing is that we're helping a gentleman run in the South for Senate right now. He's going to win. He will win. We've seen the numbers. The odds are looking pretty good. I'm pretty happy about it. And the thing is that we have to hit a couple of points for him. And by the way, I always have to do this within my own ethics. Like if I don't believe it's possible that this is the best thing to do, I have to go away and say, you know what? I'm just not doing it. I was asked by the Obama campaign in 2007 to help. Do you know this? I think I can tell the story now, actually. I was offered by Hollywood to come out there and help get Obama elected. And I said, no. I was like, I can't do that because I just, not that the man's a bad man. The man's actually a pretty good man. But the problem is that from a political standpoint, I didn't like what I was seeing,
Yeah.
And so I said, no.
I actually think that most politicians, not all, but I think most politicians actually think they're doing what is right. Most do. There are some horrible people I've met, tons of them, who actually hate their constituents, who are just bad, horrible, sociopathic people. I've met them. But I think most politicians believe in their hearts that they're helping, right? I actually think that my mayor, who is a terrible, horrible mayor, actually believes that he is smarter than you, Kevin. That he should rule you because he's smarter and better than you. He's not trying to hurt you, but look, you're one of the plebes, and he should really just be helping you because you don't know any better. I think he believes that. Now, my governor's a bad person. He's just a bad guy. There's a difference. That's all I'm saying. I don't think Obama's a bad guy. I think he's just wrong.
No, I agree, and that was my state, and that's why I didn't do that. And I had helped a couple of other candidates in the past. I can always got to be careful what story to tell. But nevertheless, so the Obama campaign I said no to, and then Trump people didn't ask. And I actually told Tulsi Gabbard's people that we would help them if they want to call us and if they can get onto the ballot, that we would go to bat for them and look at them because I liked what she was saying.
I did too. I invited her to come across. I invited her to come across to us. I wouldn't mind if she was in my position right now, but sadly, she said no to both of us. See, we're failing, Kevin.
It's like, and sometimes people are just testing the waters. Look how long Trump tested the waters, right?
Yep.
Trump tested the waters a long time, before. I mean, if he would have wanted this 12 years ago when he had the show, when it was popular, he could have done this, but clearly he didn't want it at the time. And he did it when he thought he had the best chance. And then he kept going. Thank you, Joseph. I appreciate that. Trump kept going, and that's why he made it. And he resonated with what was going on inside of people's minds. So in other words, Trump would say the craziest doggone stuff, and people were like, oh, well, that'll never fly. And no, it doesn't in the politically correct atmosphere. And this is another thing that's really tough. You got to be able to sit there and look at your neighbors and go, okay, I have to be honest, but I don't have to be a jerk, okay? Right. So yes, it never, okay? So we don't have to be an idiot and say, oh, and then pick a bunch of words that are just nasty. That's not necessary, right? But to be strong in what you believe and what you know, and that you do to deserve. This is the United States of America, at least for now, And like I say, Eastern Europe is my second home, and I'm telling you, you don't want to get sick in Eastern Europe. You'd rather be sick here. Right. Maybe not in the New York hospitals where they have ventilators. I'm not a big fan of ventilators. Yeah, just sticks. Oh man, so.
I love how I get you going. This is great. I'm going to have you on like every week. This is awesome. I just love that I just get you going. It's good. No, but to be forward, the Republicans in New York State actually asked me to jump on their ticket. They said, well, why don't you become lieutenant governor instead of running for governor as Libertarian? And I said to them, I can lose on my own. I don't need your help to lose. And I proved that true. Correct. See, I showed them. So yes, I can lose all by myself. So, but yeah, there's times when you don't want to make that step. Because of how I ran a third-party campaign in New York State, it was the largest third-party campaign run since 2016. I raised over $500,000.
Is that right?
Yeah. I raised over $500,000. I had a nationwide a team. It was a big campaign, right? I had hundreds of people on my campaign. It was big. The issue is people who now want to run third party, they will often call me on my team. They'll reach out to me on my team and they'll ask, right, how do you do it? What do you do? And when I tell them how hard it is, they don't like it. And that's why they don't do it. It is not easy to do this. It is not easy to deal with the press because when you're left or right, the press treats you a certain way. But when you're not left or right, the press immediately dismisses you. You are wasting time. It's a whole different way of dealing with press. People, everything changes. It's a whole different way and people who come from the left or come from the right, and then they feel that, they don't like it. They don't like it. It's one of the reasons why you see very few of them come over. They come and then they leave because they don't like the difference. It's a whole lot easier being part of a left or right machine than it is the middle. And the biggest reason is, and I'm sure you'll love this, when it's just left or right, all that matters is rhetoric. Nothing else matters. It's just, I'm not the evil that guy. That's all that matters, right? I'll protect you from that guy or that gal. That's it. That's all that matters. But when I'm third party, I have to actually have answers, which is why I spent so much of my campaign on policy. So that when I talk to people, they'd say, well, how do you deal with the roads? Or whatever they would say. I would then tell them, this is how. And they go, oh, that makes sense. Yeah, it does. And you can actually get what you want without having to use government to get it. I literally did this last 3 or 4 weeks. Every week on Wednesday and Thursday, I would go on and I would go down Bernie Sanders' website. And I would literally give answers for every single one of his issues but I give a libertarian answer. And the amount of Democrats that came from that blew my mind. The amount, because they were like, oh, because I let them know, I want the same outcome that you want. I just don't want to use government force to get there.
That's the deal. Because, and again, this comes down to, and this is what you tell your neighbors, as long as you give the government power, the pandemic, this little pandemic, which whether no matter what people believe about how your state was treated and what you did, first of all, what did you not like about it? That's really important, guys. Trump's like, yeah. This Joseph's yeah. What did you not like about the way the pandemic was held? Because people do need to think about what it was they don't like, because that's what they need to change. It's like when something. Okay, so let's repair. The repair here is that you gotta love it. It's like this is a medical issue, okay? And what it really should come down to is here's what we don't know, which is a whole bunch. Okay, we don't know a whole bunch, and so we're gonna solve it with the most extreme choice of all time.
Yes. Okay. Absolutely.
Okay. Yes. I mean, that's like mom beating the hell out of all of us kids when we're kids. It's like, wait a minute, mom, I didn't do it.
Yes, I totally agree. I mean, it's a big problem. But the other issue is we have something which, again, I fall back to business often, right? I fall back to business often because that's what I know, right? I came to the Libertarian Party, believe it or not, through Robert Ringer. Do you happen to know Robert Ringer?
Oh, God, yes. He's fabulous.
Absolutely. Love him. He's the one who got me to read Atlas Shrugged. He's the one who brought me into this world, right? He's a big objective. I'm not an objectivist, but he's a big objectivist, right? So that's how I came in, right? And as I come in, I look at it through business. And business has this rule now, and now government's picked it up, of zero tolerance. And zero tolerance is all about no one can ever make a mistake. Therefore, over-regulation is the only way of protecting yourself. Every time something goes wrong, new rule. Something goes wrong, new rule. And the story I use often, and if you worked in an office, you know this one, right? You've got a conference room. You've been working in your conference room for years. People eat lunch there, they work there, they talk, they do business there, they connect there, all kind of good stuff. Then one day, Bob spills coffee. And the second Bob spills coffee, no one can be in the conference room. No food in the conference room, no food. So how does that actually work? Well, what happens is now, because no one can eat food in the conference room anymore, now they eat at their desks instead. So now you got more dirt and grime at the desks. That's worse. Now they're trashing all their tech because it's all got coffee and food in it. That's worse. Not just that. Now they're not collaborating anymore. So now you're not effective anymore. They're not doing work anymore. That's worse. But here's the worst part. Jane is the #1 sales rep. She walks in there with a coffee and donut and says, fire me. And you go, I can't fire you. I know, so I'm having my coffee. So now the elites get to do whatever they want, right? And Susan, well, she's a partner. And Jimmy, he's the boss's son. So they eat whatever they want. So what happens is the elite get what they want and the juniors all fail. And that happens in business. That happens in government. When you overregulate because of zero tolerance, it destroys everything. And that then goes up to one more, which is now you have zero tolerance on thought and zero tolerance on speech. Zero tolerance is the key here, and it destroys everything. I'm sorry, you got me going off now. See what you did? That's your fault, Kevin.
You're doing good.
That's your fault. Absolutely.
I was just down in Chile about. I came back. I got back from Chile the day that Chile closed their borders and the day that we closed ours. So it was actually very lucky, or else I'd be sitting down there right now, which was not a fun deal. And but I was down there, and I one of the questions I now ask when I travel is do I have the freedom of speech in this country? And people say, of course. They'll say, of course. Well, but you can't talk about the dictator.
Right. Okay. Right.
Because you could go to jail for that. In Poland, where I love, everybody who knows me knows I love Poland. Poland's been great. I've worked with the church there. I've worked with the government. I've worked with the church and the government in Poland. The church, by the way, would be the Catholic Church, right? And the Polish government at the same time, together to make changes. Wow, was that fun or what? So this is how the world works. It's like when you have freedom of speech, you can say anything and everything's okay. And we really need to get freedom of speech back. There's a lot of stuff I'd prefer my kids not say. There's words I'd prefer they don't say. It's like, don't say that. Come on, don't do that. But at the same time, I really need it to be legal. I need it to be okay. Because when I go to Poland, if I can say that what the deal is here, I got to remember, I'm not in Poland now, so I'm fine.
Right.
In Poland, you can't mention that Poles were coerced by the Nazis to inter people at Auschwitz.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact is that historically, this is just facts. It doesn't say anything bad about anybody. But if I say that in Poland, I can go to jail. And I love Poland, and Poland loves Kevin Hogan because I've done a little bit for the country over the years. All right, because of influence. Larry, when I about 2007, when a book I wrote called Covert Persuasion, that's one of the greatest titles.
I remember. I actually bought it.
Right, it's a pretty good book.
It is.
And oh my gosh, they grilled me. The media. I got in front of the press one day, and they're, Dr. Hogan, don't you think that it's true that by doing this you're the same as Hitler? And I'm like, Hitler? Wow, there's a stretch for you. Okay,
hold on. Covert was black and red cover, right?
Yes.
I remember.
Oh, you did read it.
Yes, I did. I wasn't making that up. I told you the one I didn't read. I didn't read the Invisible one. That I didn't read.
Invisible Influence. That's a pretty good one too, by the way.
I haven't read that one, but I read Covert. I remember.
I was in a scientific mood when I wrote Invisible Influence. I was in one of my devious, mischievous moods when I wrote Covert Persuasion, just telling the truth. So Mom always demanded that, or else you get in big trouble. So and it was always important too, because in our house you always tell the truth and you always have the right to say it. It's like you don't get punished for what you say; you get punished for what you don't say. It's like, wouldn't it be cool if your kids told you the truth? Wouldn't it be cool if your politicians told you the truth? Wow. Okay. What if Eric Snowden, by the way, I see the poster back there. I assume that WDEN, I can't think of very many other words.
Hold on. Yes, it is.
Okay. So I sat next to a guy coming home from Iceland about 6 months ago, and he's a computer guy. And he says, that Edward Snowden guy, he really ripped on the guy. And I'm like, that's really interesting. To me, I mean, and I don't know, but my take was the guy's actually kind of a heroic figure in my mind, because he actually sort of told the truth, like my mom
have
demanded.
His picture on my wall. Yeah, I would agree with you. That is correct.
Yes.
And
it's like, what would happen if we all told the truth? What would happen if we didn't need to keep secrets? Because after all, what secrets what can't I know? Like, what can my government do to somebody else that I don't want to know? Do I want to know they're hurting people and bombing them today? I don't want that to happen in the first place. How is bombing Afghanistan going to help Kevin Hogan's day? It probably won't.
Yep.
Oh, there's terrorists. Really? Have you been to the airport the last 20 years? Zero. Okay.
Zero. Not one.
There's none there.
There actually are terrorists that call the TSA.
Oh, sweet mother. You can stand up. I have been just,
yes.
I'm tired of it. Yes. Travel in and out all the time, and everybody's touching, and that's not okay. It's like, I believe it was Fourth Amendment. I could be wrong on this. Fourth Amendment search and seizure. Is that right or wrong?
Yep.
This sounds right. There you go. Thank you. And so it's like, this is what I like about this country 50 years ago is that if you would do the stuff you do today, they'd go to jail.
Yes, that's exactly right. Yes.
Give me my country back. So it's not making America great again. It's like, give me it back. What the values and because this stuff matters. It's like, because as soon as they can touch you here, and as soon as they can go through the X-ray machine 20 times in a row, I got scanned one time, and I said, why is it that I constantly am getting pulled over? And they said, well, your picture doesn't look like anything like your passport picture. I said, but as you can see through my eyes, it is. They said, yes, but as long as your passport looks different than what you look like right now, you're going to get pulled over. And I'm like, that's not random.
Right. Yes. Correct. Yes. Absolutely.
Damn it. That's a reason. Yes. That's not random.
Yes.
Okay. That's probable cause. Tell me probable cause.
But the other piece that bothers me about that whole thing is, now that we're going to look back at 9/11 like we look back at Vietnam, right? Vietnam changed our country tremendously. It really did. And I mean, at a cultural level, it really changed our country. If you go prior to Vietnam, almost always, and some part during Vietnam, the elites in our country believed in our military, believed in our government, because they sent their sons, not many daughters then, they sent their sons off to war. Even the elite did. Now, the elite don't send their sons to war. The elite keep their sons home because they think, these wars just perpetual wars, for the poor people to fight. They don't even imagine that anymore. That's changed. And 9/11 made it the big difference, right? I did bring this up all the time. And again, I'm on my leadership thing, right? A good leader doesn't say, Kevin, something bad's happened. Do me a favor, stay home, shop on Amazon. I got this. That's not a good leader. A good leader says, Kevin, something bad's happened. Get off your ass. Help. Come on. We need you. That's what a good leader does. And since 9/11, that's changed. 9/11 said, we got this. Don't worry. Bombing solves everything. We'll take care of it. We'll just bomb some people. You go back to shopping. And once that happened, the nanny state was enshrined. It said, we got you. Be quiet. Do nothing. Do as we say. We'll keep you safe. And the thing that bothers me is above the Snowden picture, you see my Marine Corps picture, right? I was a Marine for many years.
Yes.
And the oath that I took is the same oath the president took. And it was not an oath that said, I'm going to protect every single American from every single thing, everyone, to include you, Kevin. That wasn't what I said. What I actually oath I took was, I'm going to defend and support the Constitution. That's the oath that I took and the oath the president took. And after 9/11, that oath went out the window. Because everyone goes, number one answer is to keep us all safe. No, it isn't. Prior to 9/11, that was not true. So now that it is true, now they have every right to now, as we found out, literally keep you locked in your home under house arrest to keep you safe. That began in 9/11.
Months.
For months.
2 months. How would you love to? It's now, we sort of have our own social distance here, and I like space, right? So space is cool, but not everybody else has space in the world. When I go over to Europe, I usually spend time in a little teeny little apartment. If I were stuck in an apartment for 2 months, I can't actually imagine, because I've done it a few times, but not on purpose and by force, and that I can't go to the grocery store without hitting my SMS text message, and that's the only way I can leave is with an SMS text message from the guy. Really? Is that really okay?
Yes.
I'm sorry. Who the hell are you? Did I not give you that job? That's my responsibility. I pay for this job. Tell your neighbors. It's great that you social distance or didn't. It's great. I have people, they call up the police here in town. They'll say, there's people that aren't social distancing. And the police, this is on 911. And I'm thinking, God, really?
Okay, I'm going to tell you, Kevin, you don't get to say that. Here's why you don't get to say that. Where I live in Queens, we have what's called 311. We have a special line for this.
No.
Yes, not 911. We got the 311. That's the get your neighbor. That's the 1-800 snitch. That's us. 1-800 I'm a Nazi. That's what that is. We have 311, and where I live in Queens, the highest rate of calls.
Get out of here.
Yes. So I get you, but you're high school. You can't handle what I handle. You're JV. I'm the major leagues here, man. Thank you for serving, not in the Marines necessarily, but in New York, because yes,
that would. And by the way, thank you for your service there for real too. No, I think it's horrifying and it's really important that you let people know. And I would say this to every neighbor I have, including the ones who said it. Aren't you glad that people don't call and comment to the police about you? Okay. That would be the influential piece, because there is something, and I know this factually after doing all the data research, there's something that we all do. Everybody who's watching this has something that they prefer the police didn't know. Snitches get riches. Myron's right on that one, boy. And the thing is that as you're communicating with people, because one of the reasons that Larry wanted me to come on to the show today was really to talk about, just to hit on just a few key ideas that people can use to spread the libertarian message downline. All right. Not electing a president, not electing a vice president, but really what can we do like in the neighborhood? What can we do? Yes. So when the message hits in 2 months and 3 months, people go, oh, libertarian. That's not liberal, and it's not right-wing Republican. Actually, it's not actually even in the middle, because just because something is +8 and -8 doesn't mean that it's 0. It really is. We have looking at money. If you look at the libertarian population, they're actually, first of all, they're not the richest people in the world, but they're not the poorest, because they're independent. And so independent people don't strive to be the billionaire. That's not interesting. Nor do they strive to be poor. Okay. I was born poor, grew up poor, just like you did. I grew up in Chicago. You grew up in the Bronx. I'm telling you, that's two tough lives.
Yes.
But you can escape, and you can escape through the libertarian philosophy, because if you look at the philosophy, it is partially based on objectivism, and it is partially based on more current work. Robert Ringer's work. Everybody should read his work. Oh my goodness, his first 2 books are really the core philosophy.
For number 1, and then to be or not to be. No, they rebranded it. It's because that was harsh. Now it is
I talked to him
to
about
be
that,
or
by the
not to be intimidated.
I told him not to do
rebranded
that.
it. They rebranded it. Yes.
Okay, so about 10 years ago, I had the conversation with him, and I was like, "Don't do that." I go, I wrote your book. I wish I would have wrote the book. I read the book because it was such a captivating title. It was his title that got me to write Covert Persuasion, which was the 8th most downloaded book on planet Earth in 2008. Okay.
Wow.
That's big.
That is big.
And so if you can put a title out there, it's okay to make something that grabs attention. It's all right to do that, So I will have to drop a note. I didn't know that they had changed that. They probably did it 5 years ago, and I didn't even pay attention. But
yes, it's now to be or not to be intimidated. See, I'm not making this stuff up, Kevin. I read this stuff. I'm not making it up.
That's painful too, because that shows that we put too much pressure on an author, and I don't particularly like that at all. Too much pressure on an author to be politically correct.
Yep, absolutely. His latest book, I think, was Action. Nothing happens until somebody moves, or something like that.
Pretty good. That was a good book too, actually.
Yeah, but not
it's not on the same level.
Correct.
Not on the same level as the first two, but nevertheless, I do like. I asked him if he would do a gig for me, and I love the guy because he says, "Kev," he says, "I'm not going to do it for less than 25,000." I'm saying, "Here's the deal: I don't pay. You do it because you get my platform." He's like, "Well, I can't do that," and I'm like, "You know what? I respect that. I say the same thing all the time."
I love it. I love it. He's hardcore. He's all about the brand. He is all about the brand.
It totally is, and he lives it, and that's and that's what every single person in the neighborhood needs to do. What is your brand? Everybody needs to. Well, I'm not a brand. I'm not a product. Oh, yes, you are. When people see you, they use words to describe you. What are those words? What are the words that people use to describe Myron or Joseph that wrote on here? What are the words that people describe you? There's only 7 or 8 words that people use to describe each of you guys that are watching this. What are those 7 or 8 words? Seriously, you should write that down. What 7 or 8 words do people use to describe you? Okay, because whatever they are, it may not be what you want. Okay. What do you really want? You know what you want? You want. I understand other point. Kevin always understands the other point of view. He has really strong beliefs of his own. He doesn't push them on anybody. He shows you how to get your beliefs accepted. Okay, all right. So it's like, and he can be wrong. Wow.
Absolutely.
Who can be wrong?
Yes, he can.
Who can be wrong?
Absolutely,
man.
So yes. So as long as when they talk about me, one of the words is good looking or handsome, I'm good. Right? The rest is irrelevant. I'm totally only about just the surface, totally shallow. That's all I care about. Good looking or handsome.
I had a woman in the front row one time said, this is 15 years ago. She says, "Gosh, you got a nice butt." And I was like, "You are the smartest woman I have ever seen in my life."
There we go. Exactly right. I love that.
I was so appreciative.
Yes. There's actually a tool that I actually use. I actually use this tool when I talk to people, and when I get people who want to start new businesses, and I'll say, "All right, here's what I want you to do: go to people who know you, preferably someone who knows you professionally, and at least one person knows you personally, and someone in your family. If you can get at least one of each, if you can get more, even better, but at least one of each, right? Someone knows you personally, a family member, and a professional person, and ask them this question. All right, tell them up front. Look, I'm trying to do a little exercise that my coach told me." So please bear with me. I'm going to ask you some crazy questions. Bear with me. And then say, "Hey, Kevin, what food am I?" And then whenever you ask, I don't care what your answer is. I then go, "Great. Why?" That's the words. Whatever comes up after why is the words, right? "You're a peanut butter and jelly sandwich." Wow. Why? Well, because you're, the words come up. I don't care what the actual answer is. I care what the why is. And you can use anything you want. You can use food. You can use restaurant. You can use article of clothing. Good. You can use animal. It doesn't matter what you use. It's irrelevant what you use because I don't care what the actual answer is. I only care what the why is. The why gives it to you. And if you find any string that's the same, that's how they actually think about you. And if you get 3 different types of people and there's any common string, those 3 words are your brand. That's your brand right there. And if you don't like it, you got a problem. And if you like it, life is good. Jump on it. Life is good. So yeah, I'm with you totally. The why question, I think, gives you that. And you don't even have to ask. I mean, you don't have to go through what words would you use to describe me because then they'll be afraid and they'll lie to you. So I don't want them to lie to you. So you give them a silly exercise.
No, we don't want that.
And they tell you the truth. That's what I always use.
like
So I agree with you completely.
Do you when people talk with you and they interview you about the politics, does the question ever come up? But how do you? Here's the thing I want to solve for the people watching this. And you're running, and you're going to probably run for VP here as the Libertarian Party, which I think would be awesome. I hope this happens, and I hope it works out this way.
It's going to happen. I'm going to win. Of course I am. Of course.
And I want to make sure that everybody knows the reason, by the way, because that's important. So make sure we write down reason. So we got to come back to that. But do people ever ask you the question, geez, you're not going to win because after all, there's 45% Republican, 45% Democrat. So nobody's going to vote. I mean, why would people go vote for the Libertarian? Do people ask you this question?
All the time. All the time. Consistently. And depends upon the audience, right? This depends upon my audience. If my audience is, say, New York State in this case, I'd say, so you're saying it's a wasted vote? And they go, yeah, it's a wasted vote. I go, great. So what if you vote for Biden or Trump? What's going to happen in New York State? Well, yeah, Biden's going to win. That's a wasted vote. No matter what you do in New York State, Biden's going to win. You voting for red or blue,
by the way,
that is a wasted vote. But if you vote gold, you know what you do? You move both parties away from rhetoric and towards policy. If you vote gold, you will move those two parties towards policies that can affect you. They'll pay attention to you if you stop voting for them. You've trained them to keep voting, to keep doing nothing because you keep rewarding their bad behavior. You could stop rewarding bad behavior and they might actually care about you. And people go, oh, yeah, there we go. Do you like my ideas? They go, yeah, I do. How am I going to tell those ideas to people if people don't listen? But if you vote for me, then I'll get on TV and I'll tell my ideas. And your guy or gal might pick them up and that I don't have to run anymore and I can go back home. And then we'll both be happy. That's what I tell people.
And in 2015, going back to our current president, Trump was he had less than 10% of the vote for as far as polling is concerned, which we found is notoriously useless, but nevertheless still has to be done. So he had about 8 to 10% of about 8 to 10% of the vote. And so how did he get to be president? Is because he's kept talking about things that resonated with people. And so when it comes to things that resonate with you guys, which with you, it's like what resonates with you is your rights, your freedoms, okay? And it's taking back, and you can talk about the Constitution. A lot of people don't like it, which is fine. Let those people be over there. That's their choice, okay? They still live here.
It's true.
Okay, but it's not my fault. So people say, who would you like to deport? It's like, it's got nothing to do with boy, it's stupid people. But
look, the piece that I bring up.
So the deal is
if I only bring up the Constitution if I know that's my audience, right? And if I look at my audience, for example, in New York State, most people in New York State don't care about the Constitution at all. It means nothing to them. They want to just change it, trash it, zero value, doesn't matter. I get that. So I rarely talk about that. I talk about, don't you want this thing to be better? I always begin with the end. I never talk about policy. I say, do you want this thing that I want? And they go, I do. Awesome. Then I go, is it good right now? They go, no. So that's what gets me off of the problem we have constantly is people take all of our libertarian ideas and views and they measure them against perfection. And if you measure it against perfection, you always lose. So I set the bar as status quo by saying, do you want something better? You do. So right now it's not working good. Right. Here's my policy. So now my policy is measured against status quo, not against perfection. If you do that, they go, oh, that actually makes sense. You must be a whatever they are. So if they're Republican, you must be Republican. They're Democrat, you must be Democrat.
And I still want people to vote in New York and California also for Libertarian too, not because it's going to make a difference in the outcome in that specific state, but it will. There's amazing, going back to Trump, there's like this riptide that happens when you don't need to win California and New York, we found out, to win an election. That's the first thing, okay? Yeah. Okay? Thank God for the Electoral College, okay? So the Electoral College, a lot of people say, there was an article today, I think it was a New Yorker or Atlantic today, they didn't get it. It was like, oh, it's a terrible thing. And I'm like, no, the Electoral College will save this country's butt someday, okay? So you really got to study. But forget the history part for a minute, guys. The point is that you can win South Dakota, you can win Iowa, you can win Minnesota, you can win Wisconsin, you can win probably not Florida, but you could win. Nevertheless, you could sweep some southern states and some western all the way to the coasts. And by doing this, you make
Maine,
your
New Hampshire.
Yes. By the way, yep. Those are doable, and those are real things because the independents have come from these states. They have come from and so New York and California, tough gigs. That's where I would attack last. It's like we're not going to get that. Let's go where we have a much better chance. I always found it's much easier to be. A lot of people say, "Well, Kev, I want to be a famous author." I'm like, okay, here's the deal. All right, let's start out with just being an author, and then let's sell it to a group of people. Okay.
Yes.
And after this, people, now let's widen the scope a little, and now you'll get bigger. Don't try to capture the world all in one shot. Instead, let's capture some of the states that are like 15 electoral votes or 20 electoral votes, and maybe smaller. If we get that, we actually have a chance to get it all, because that's what Trump did. Trump did not win New York, did he?
No. And he actually walked away from New York.
In fact, he didn't win anything on the West Coast, right?
I don't think so.
Okay. So you have a president who nobody liked. Who likes Donald Trump? Nobody likes Donald Trump. Even the people who voted for him didn't like him. But he resonated. He hit on things that resonated. So resonate with people on the things that are critical, really critical to them anyway. And people's success, as we come out of this pandemic, nobody's got a job. There's 30 million people, 40 million people aren't working that were working 2.5 months ago.
Yes.
Good job, guys. Really brilliant, by the way. So now you have this. It literally is an opportunity moment for libertarianism. Really is, because the libertarian would never, ever have done this to the United States of America. Republicans,
I literally had Gary Johnson on the show yesterday, day before, and who would have been, if I would have had my way, who would be the president now, because I voted for him in 2016. If he would have been president, he literally said, "You can't lock people down. You can't do it." He was just there was no doubt in his mind that that's wrong. He would have never done it.
It's not okay. And just because, look, if Sweden doesn't do it, and Sweden's some of the smartest damn people in the world, and South Dakota didn't do it. They're some of the wealthiest people per capita in the world. It's like, come on, let's think about it. How many more people died in South Dakota than everywhere else? None. How many more people died in Sweden than no more people? It's the same numbers everywhere. So in other words, you didn't have to stay home.
Sweden actually kept it flat without shutting down. If you look at Sweden's death rate, and it goes up and down, but it's basically flat, even though they didn't shut down.
I did not know that was the status there. Okay. But I mean, they didn't do concerts and stuff like that. I know that. And, I have to keep up on Europe because I go there.
But the government didn't tell them they couldn't.
No.
They chose to not do it.
That's because they're grown-ups.
Yes, they said, we probably shouldn't do a concert. That would be a bad idea. People might die. Let's not do that.
Because we have all this knowledge we don't know about. Until we learn, it makes sense. But you certainly don't have to put a gun to my head and say, Kev, you got to go home, dude.
Right. Right. Absolutely. I appreciate that. So
really.
Anyway, Kevin, I'm going to have to let you run.
Mm-hmm.
I can't tell you how much I appreciate you coming on. It's so amazing, so awesome. Thank you so much. Is there anything that you want to talk about before we leave? And by the way, for more information on Kevin, head on down there to where you see it across the bottom, kevinhogan.com. He's got great content. And buy his books. I've read them. They've helped me tremendously. Buy his books. So anything you want to talk about?
I think it's great that people are watching and talking about an alternative that makes logical sense. There's a rational base to this. Folks, enjoy. Go do it this year. If you have any questions on how to, do local work, drop me a note at kevinhogan.com. I'll personally drop you a note for this specific issue, this only, but this specific issue, I'd be happy to help. Take care, everybody.
Awesome. Thank you.